The courtroom was silent except for the sound of papers shuffling. My hands rested on the table, clenched so tight that my knuckles turned white. Across from me sat Rachel, my wife of 12 years, her lips curled into a smirk I had never seen before. Beside her, Thomas, the man she had been secretly sleeping with, leaned back in his chair. He was her lawyer, and also her boyfriend. He leaned forward, his voice low but dripping with arrogance. "The judge is my friend, soldier. You're leaving this room with nothing. Not the house, not the kids, not even your dignity." Rachel giggled and glanced at me. "Look at him, Thomas. He's too scared to even speak." The judge, sitting high on the bench, adjusted his glasses but said nothing. His silence felt like agreement. Thomas slid a paper across the table toward me. "Sign it now. Save yourself the humiliation. You're done here." I stared at the paper. My entire life, my family, my home stripped away with a single signature. But what Thomas didn't know was who I really was. And before I reveal the shocking truth of what happened next, please, if you're watching this, hit the like button, share this story, and subscribe to the channel. Because what I'm about to tell you shocked everyone. In that courtroom, I looked at the paper on the table but didn't touch it. My silence made Thomas grin wider, as if he had already won. Rachel leaned closer to him, whispering something in his ear, and they both laughed softly, mocking me in front of the judge. "Sign it, soldier," Thomas repeated, his voice laced with fake sympathy. "You fought your little wars, but this is real life. And here I win." The judge cleared his throat, but he didn't interfere. His eyes shifted quickly toward Thomas, as if waiting for him to guide the outcome. It was clear they were working together. Rachel crossed her arms. "You can't even look at me, can you? All those years, and I was stuck with a man who fixes broken sinks, while Thomas actually matters." Her words cut deep, but I didn't flinch. I had been trained for worse. I slowly raised my eyes to meet Thomas's, my voice calm and measured. "You think you know who I am. You think this is your game. But you've already made your first mistake," Thomas chuckled. "And what's that?" I leaned back in my chair, my heartbeat steady. "Underestimating me." A flicker of doubt crossed Rachel's face. For the first time since walking into the courtroom, I saw fear in her eyes. She had no idea what was coming. Thomas leaned forward, laughing. "Underestimating you? Please, you're just a washed-up soldier who doesn't even know how the system works. I control this room." The judge smirked slightly, confirming my suspicion. They had planned this entire performance before I ever walked in. Rachel placed her hand on Thomas's arm. "Honey, don't waste your breath. He's going to sign. He always does what he's told." Her words were meant to humiliate me, but instead they fueled the fire building inside my chest. My silence wasn't weakness, it was calculation. I slowly slid the paper back across the table without signing it. "You're right about one thing, Thomas," I said softly. "I fought wars, but the battlefield was never fair, and I never played fair either." He frowned, his confidence wavering. "For just a second. I don't need your pity or your mercy," I continued. "And I don't need this courtroom to prove I am." Rachel scoffed. "Oh, please, spare us your soldier speeches. You're nothing here, nothing. I turned my head toward her, my voice sharp. Rachel, you've made the mistake of forgetting. Who stood between you and chaos for the last 12 years? The courtroom grew still. Even the judge shifted uncomfortably in his chair. For the first time, I could see it, the tiny fractures in their confidence. And I was just getting started. Thomas slammed his hand on the table. Enough games. Judge, make him sign it. He's wasting our time. The judge adjusted his glasses again, but stayed oddly quiet. He was nervous now, though he tried to hide it. His gaze darted toward me, like he was trying to read something he couldn't quite place. Rachel rolled her eyes. This is pathetic. You're dragging this out because you can't accept it's over. Just sign it and walk away with whatever dignity you have left. I leaned forward slowly, my voice low but sharp enough to cut through the silence. You think dignity comes from signatures on paper? From backroom deals with crook judges? Thomas's smug expression faltered. Watch your words, soldier. You don't want to dig a hole deeper than you can climb out of. That made me smile for the first time. A cold, unsettling smile. Do you know what's funny, Thomas? I asked. In all your arrogance, you never stopped to ask who I really am. To you, I'm just some soldier. But you have no idea about the people I've worked with, the things I've seen, the power I still hold. Rachel blinked, her smirk slipping into unease. What are you talking about? I leaned back, folding my arms. Let's just say this isn't the first courtroom I've been in. And it's not the first time I've faced enemies who thought they already won. The room fell silent. 4. The first time, Thomas didn't have a clever reply, and that silence was mine. Thomas forced a laugh, though his voice cracked just slightly. Empty words. That's all you've got. He looked at the judge for reassurance, right? He's bluffing, but the judge didn't nod this time. He cleared his throat nervously, his eyes fixed on me. That hesitation alone told me what I needed to know. He recognized me. Rachel frowned, sensing the shift. Why is everyone suddenly acting like he's dangerous? He's just him. She gestured toward me with disdain, though her tone lacked its earlier confidence. I leaned forward, lowering my voice so only they could hear. I know about the offshore accounts. I know about the favors passed under this very table. And Judge, you might want to remember the oath you swore before you try to bury me. The judge's face drained of color. He reached for his gavel, but froze midway. Rachel's jaw dropped. How do you, Rachel? I cut her off sharply. You spent years laughing at me, thinking I was just some handyman husband. What you never knew is that my service didn't end overseas. I was recruited into a branch that doesn't officially exist. I've seen files with all your names in them. Thomas stiffened, his arrogance cracking. That's impossible. I smiled coldly. You should have done your homework before trying to bury me alive. For the first time, the courtroom no longer felt like their arena. It was mine. Rachel shot up from her seat, panic flickering across her face. This is ridiculous. You're trying to scare us with stories. None of this is real. But her eyes betrayed her. She wasn't arguing with confidence anymore. She was arguing with fear. I tilted my head slightly. Really? Then maybe you'd like me to tell the court why you fought so hard to bring Thomas here today. Thomas glanced at her, confused. What is he talking about, Rachel? I let the silence build before delivering the blow. Because this isn't just your lawyer. He's been your lover for months. That's why you was so desperate to make. Sure, I walked out with nothing. The words cut through the room like a blade. Gasps echoed from the benches behind us. Even the judge froze mid-motion. Thomas's face turned crimson. Rachel, is this true? She stammered, her voice trembling. It's not what you think. He doesn't know what he's saying. I stood slowly, letting every pair of eyes lock on me. I knew long before today. The late-night calls, the sudden work trips, the way you avoided my eyes when you thought I was asking too many questions. Rachel, you weren't just betraying me. You were terrified I'd find out. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. For once, the smirk she always wore was gone. And all that was left was shame. Thomas shoved back his chair, glaring at Rachel. You told me this would be easy. You swore the judge was on our side, that he'd bury him with one stroke of a pen. You didn't say a word about this. Rachel's lips trembled, her voice barely a whisper. I thought he didn't know. I thought we were safe. I repeated, my voice calm, almost too calm. You thought I was some broken soldier too simple to see the truth. But while you were sneaking around in shadows, I was watching. Every detail, every lie. The judge's gavel hit the bench with a shaky crack. Order, I will not have this. I turned to him, cutting him off with a cold stare. Sit down, Judge. We both know your hands are dirty. Shall I read the names of the people you've let Thomas represent in your courtroom without question? Or the bribes Rachel helped funnel through your friends? The color drained from his face. His gavel slipped from his hand and clattered. Onto the bench, Rachel grabbed Thomas's arm, whispering furiously, "Do something." But Thomas was no longer smiling. His arrogance had drained away, replaced by a tight jaw and clenched fists. "Who are you?" he demanded. The room went still. I stepped closer, my voice dropping into a razor's edge. "The man you thought you destroyed. The man you underestimated. And the man who doesn't need this courtroom to decide his fate." Rachel stumbled backward, the reality of her betrayal crashing down. For the first time, they weren't sure who held the power anymore. The air in the courtroom felt heavy, like everyone was holding their breath. Even the clerks at the back had stopped scribbling notes, their pens frozen midair. Thomas barked again, though his voice cracked. I said, "Who are you?" I took a deep breath, then reached into my jacket pocket. Gasps filled the room as I pulled out a small leather case and flipped it, open on the table. The golden emblem glinted under the courtroom lights. Special Investigations Division. Classified clearance. Military intelligence. Rachel's face drained of color. No. That's impossible. You never. I cut her off. You thought I was just a soldier who fixed toilets, Rachel. You never knew what my tours really meant. While you were laughing at me, I was dismantling corruption networks bigger than anything Thomas could dream of. The judge's eyes widened. In terror, he leaned back like the very sight of that badge burned him. Thomas's arrogance shattered completely. His lips moved, but no words came out. You tried to play me, I continued, my voice steady and cold. But I already had every piece of evidence I needed. Offshore accounts, illegal transfers, secret meetings. Your affair wasn't just betrayal of a marriage, it was part of a conspiracy. And now? I snapped the badge case shut. Now it's over. Rachel stumbled into her chair, shaking her head as though denying reality would change it. But the truth was out, and the walls of their lies were crumbling fast. The judge shot to his feet, sweat dripping down his forehead. This is outrageous. You can't. Sit down, I said firmly, my voice carrying the weight of command. For a moment, he froze, like he wasn't facing a defendant, but a superior officer. Slowly, almost against his will, he lowered himself back into the chair. Thomas tried to stand tall, but his bravado was gone. You don't scare me. I'll bury you with lawsuits, with appeals. I cut him off, sliding a folder across the table. That's funny, because inside this folder is every illegal case you ever touched. Every client you extorted, every bribe you took. Each page is signed, dated, and linked to accounts in your name. He stared at the folder like it was a bomb about to go off. Behind me, whispers rippled through the courtroom. The gallery wasn't just watching a trial anymore. They were witnessing a reckoning. Rachel leaned forward, desperate, her voice breaking. Please, stop this. We can fix it. I was wrong. I admit it, but we can. I turned, locking eyes with her. You mocked me, betrayed me, tried to erase me from my own children's lives. There's no fixing that. Tears streaked down her face, but I felt nothing. Not anger anymore. Not sorrow. Just finality. The bailiffs moved closer, waiting for my signal dot, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I was in complete control. The silence in the room was suffocating. Every pair of eyes was locked on me. Even the judge, once so smug, now looked like a man about to face his own execution. I rose slowly, buttoning my jacket. Bailiff, I said calmly, take Judge Harris and Attorney Thomas into custody. Charges: conspiracy, bribery, obstruction of justice, and attempting to pervert the course of law. The bailiffs moved instantly. The sound of shackles clinking against wrists echoed through the courtroom as Thomas shouted in disbelief, You can't do this. I'm the law here. I own this room. But no one listened anymore. His voice was drowned by the reality of his downfall. Rachel collapsed against the table, sobbing, reaching out toward me. Please, please don't leave me like this. I made a mistake. I didn't mean. I looked at her one last time. The woman I once thought was my partner, my family, my home. Now just a stranger who betrayed me for greed. You made your choice, I said softly, and so did I. I turned and walked out of the courtroom, the heavy doors closing behind me. For the first time in years I felt free, not just from her lies, but from the shadows of their corruption. The world outside was bright, almost blinding. And as I stepped into it, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. They thought they had broken me. But in the end, it was their own arrogance that destroyed them. And me? I was just getting started.